Hello, good morning. Welcome to Growth and Grace. So this morning, if you did not see my little video yesterday about what I was going to talk about today, I will just tell you what I'm going to talk about today. We're going to talk about life lessons from lifting. So if you've been following my journey at all, you know that I've had a couple different bouts with fitness, shall we say. There's been different seasons in my life where I'll like go hard and I'll go for it and I'm like super committed and super dedicated and super consistent with it. And then for whatever reason, some life transition happens and I like fall off the wagon. So what's fun for me is to be able to show up and say, this is like the longest stretch of consistent fitness that I've been on in my adult life, which is cool. Because in my kid life, I just played sports all the time. So you kind of, without thinking about it as like, wow, I'm being physically fit. You're physically fit because you're doing all these different sports all the time, all throughout the year. And you're doing practices and they make you run. But I'm over that and I don't have to run now. It's so great. But I really want to talk through the different life lessons that I've learned. And these are just scratching the surface. But one of the things that is across the board for anything that you're ever working on is how you show up in one place is how you're showing up in other places. So if you're showing up and you consistently show up, you're committed to it, you're dedicated to it, you're going all out, those are things that you can recognize and say, hey, cool, I know I'm capable of these things. And you also are, maybe even without being conscious of it, doing those things in other areas of your life. So it's encouraging because it means if you recognize an area in your life where maybe you could shift some things or you could tweak some things, then what's cool is that when you make those tweaks, you'll see it adjust other areas of your life as well, and you'll just keep up-leveling everywhere. It's fantastic. So fitness is a really good, I was just reminded of this term twice yesterday, oddly enough, litmus test. So fitness is a really good litmus test to see how you're showing up for things because it can challenge a lot of different things. It can challenge you mentally and emotionally and physically, and it can just really bring some stuff up. So it's a cool learning tool. And it's also really fun because you can see the progress throughout. When you're consistent with it, you can see that, you know, cool, now I can do more reps than I used to be able to do, or I can lift heavier weights than I used to be able to do. And it's just a really neat way to see your progress. So I have 5 points today that I wrote out. So I will periodically be looking right over here because I have them listed here, and then I'll be back connecting with you here. But I wanted to write them out because just to touch on them, because I think it's a really cool thing to be reminded of, is that fitness is not just to be physically fit and stronger, although awesome benefits of it. There's actually a lot of things you can learn along the way. So if you didn't see the video I posted yesterday, I had a workout yesterday, and one of the exercises, because I shared with the trainer what I want to, like one of my goals by the end of this year is to do a punching bag sit-up. If you don't know what that is, look it up on Google. It's basically where one of the tall, big body size punching bags, you wrap your legs around it, and then from that position, you lean back and you do a sit-up. And you get like the full extension because you lean all the way back and then you sit all the way up. And so that's my like specific fitness goal for this year. Of course, I want to get stronger and leaner and toned and all of that, but that's like a tangible goal that I'll know by the end of the year for sure. I can check the box saying, yes, I did it. And I plan to check that box. So I'm not even going to give you the other option. But I shared this with him. And so here's the lesson, is that sometimes the practice and the strategies that we're implementing leading up to hitting our goals don't look anything like the goal itself. So in my head, I'm thinking one of the ways you can practice doing a sitting bag or a punching bag sit-up, sitting bag, that would be easier. Sitting bag punch up. I could do that right now. But one of the things that in my head I'm thinking, well, what if I just start practicing? There's one at my gym. So just each time I'm in there, I can practice gripping, your grip strength with your legs. And then I can, be doing, would they be called decline sit-ups, incline sit-ups, where you like able to lean back past horizontal so you can get that full range. And So in my head, I'm like, that's how I plan to practice this. Like, you know, there's different muscles that are used, so you can strengthen those, but that's like a good, you just kind of practice that till you get stronger in the movements, and then eventually you'll be able to do it. So in my head, that was going to be my approach. Thank goodness for trainers, because this exercise that we did yesterday, and go pop back on my page and look at the video I did. Adductor hip bridge raises. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it does not look at all like a punching bag sit-up. Like, no part of it. There's no sit-up, there's no punching bag. It totally looks like unrelated. But the cool thing is that it's actually strengthening the key muscles that are going to help me keep that grip around the punching bag. I'm doing this because you can't see my legs, but it's my legs that will be gripping the punching bag. But the exercise that he had me doing to strengthen the adductor muscles, like your inner thighs, is going to help with that significantly, and yet it doesn't look anything like the end result. So what's cool about this, and thank goodness for trainers, is that it is actually effective and it is working. So that's rad. What's the highlight for me was remembering I don't necessarily know what it looks like to hit a goal that I haven't hit yet. So I want to go talk to someone who's hit the goal and who knows what they're doing, so that they can lead me in the most effective path. We can figure out a path to get there. My path would have been way longer and not as effective. And not to say I can't still be practicing along the way, but doing those adductor hip bridge raises, whatever they're called, that's what's actually going to help me strengthen that muscle to help me get a better grip so that I can do the punching bag sit-up. So anyway, so the first point is, it's not always going to look like your goal. Like, the path to your goal won't always look like your goal. The second point, and this is, again, go back and look at that video so you can see it, but notice where my leg is placed on the bench. And what I was told ahead of time was the further out, like the closer to your foot. How do I want to say this? If like your whole leg is on the bench, it's going to be the easiest movement. But if you keep moving further away from the bench till eventually just your foot is on the bench and your whole leg is off of the bench, that's going to be a harder movement. So in my head, I'm thinking, I already don't know this movement, so I'm going to just try the hardest option, because if I can nail that, then it helps me bypass maybe some steps that I don't need to take, because I can start here and up level from that point. So I tried the hardest option. I tried it for my foot. And you know, when you watch someone who's really good at what they do and they do it and you're like, oh, I can totally do that. And then you go to do it and you're like, oh, I really absolutely cannot. Interesting. So I had that experience yesterday. But what was cool is that because I started from the hardest spot, it only became easier. And by the time I got to the spot where I could like effectively do it with good form and like do multiple ones and actually be in the movement, I was still at a harder spot than I would have been if I'd have started just with the easiest one, because I'm starting, so I should start with the easiest one. So my challenge to you is, if you're starting with something, start, you know, when you have proper guidance, don't just frustrate yourself by starting at the hardest spot, but if you have proper guidance, start at a more challenging space than you may normally, and allow yourself to not be good at it, because you're starting, you're brand new at it. So allow yourself to not be good at it, and then allow yourself to say, okay, you know what, that's actually not going to be effective for me. It would not have made sense for me to stay at the hardest spot because I wasn't doing it. Like, I couldn't physically do the exercise yet, so it wasn't effective. But the spot where I was able to do it effectively was still more challenging than it would have been if I just started with easiest. So give yourself some credit and try it, and let yourself not be good at it. Like, that's fine. And make sure that what you're doing is effective. Don't just do it for bragging rights, to just be like, oh, well, I totally did that. I don't care how much you can lift if you're not using good form. You're hurting yourself. So use good form, but allow yourself to try heavier weights and say, wow, okay, I'm not at that spot yet, but cool that I like tried it and now I know. So it's a good gauge and it's a good challenge for yourself. So that's point number 2. If you don't know the difference anyway, you might as well go with the more challenging option that's going to help you up level at a steeper trajectory. You can start here and go here and you're still going up, which is awesome. But if you start here, because you don't know the difference, and you're able to do it, then you're already going at this trajectory, which is also awesome. So pick your challenge level, pick your trajectory, but make sure that you have someone who knows what they're doing supporting you along the way. Because otherwise you may not know if you're not using proper form. You might be injuring yourself, and you may not be doing it as effectively as you could be. You might not be hitting your goal in the most effective way. Point number 3, I kind of touched on a little bit, but it might feel super uncomfortable, and you might not do it perfectly at the start. It might take a while for you to do it really, really well, and that's okay. Start anyway, because here's the thing, if you don't start, you don't get better. You don't get to be on any trajectory. So if you don't start, you're just parked here. So yeah, you got to start. So know that it's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be challenging, and it's really helpful to have people who are encouraging around you, because there are definitely times, and I'm thinking back to this workout when I did this exercise, that I was like, I don't really want to continue. I actually would be fine if we were done right now. But I also know that I have my goals that I want to hit, and me stopping halfway through is not going to help me hit my goals in the most effective way. You can still hit goals if you stop halfway through, if you keep starting again. But what if you started and just kept going when it was uncomfortable instead of stopping when it was uncomfortable? Because you're always going to run into something that's uncomfortable. And the more times that you stop, the longer it's going to take for you to reach your end goal. So when you can learn to push through the discomfort, then what was the phrase that we used the other day? Oh, he goes, I know it sucks, but push through the suck. So push through the suck. I just think that's such a funny phrase to think through, but it worked, and it's funny. So even when things suck, you can push through the suck. Don't push yourself to the point of, like, when you're working out or when you're an athlete, you know the difference between discomfort and pain. I am not a fan of pushing through the pain and come on, and who cares if it's pain? You know, you work out till you throw up every time. Like, that does not vibe with me at all. But pushing through the discomfort, yes. You should not be injuring yourself. If you're in pain, something needs to change, something needs to shift. And a lot of the time, and again, fitness is so helpful for this. This wasn't even one of my points, but I'm so glad it's coming up. A lot of the times, it's one of the tiniest tweaks that's going to make such a difference. And it's a tweak in how you're breathing. It's a tweak in your head position. It's a tweak in your foot position. It's a tweak in, like, just the tiniest little movements of, you know, making sure that your shoulders aren't shrugging up like this, but that they're staying down. It's like tiny little things that make the world of difference. It's shifting, like if you go back and watch that video, it's just shifting a tiny bit closer to the bench so you can do the movement properly, like inches. And then you can work your way out and you can get stronger, and then you can eventually get to the spot where you're just doing it in this particular exercise, where you're just doing it from your foot. So know that you'll get there, but know that it's the tiny tweaks that are going to make the difference. So instead of getting frustrated and just quitting when things get uncomfortable, look for guidance and find out what's a little shift that I can make right now to help me get through this discomfort, and to help prevent pain. Because a really good trainer, a really good coach, they're going to help you prevent pain. They're going to be proactive in ensuring that you have proper form and that you're doing things well. And they might take you back a stage. They might take you, they might move you what feels like moving you backward, but it's really just to get you strong in your foundation so that you can move forward. I think it was John Wooden he's like just this amazing, incredible coach, basketball coach. And if you look at his track record, he has this phenomenal record. I don't know the exact statistics. I'm not that into sports statistics, but he's a phenomenal coach. And he was known, probably there's lots of different things people would say, but among the things he was known for really focusing on foundational things. And he's working in the NBA, right? Like, these guys kind of know what they're doing. They're pretty good at basketball. And he would focus on the fundamentals. He would focus on the foundational things, because even when you're skilled, even when you're capable of doing it, when you're so solid in your foundation, it's going to allow you to up level and take things to a completely different arena than you otherwise would be able to reach. So even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's painful, even when you're feeling like, oh, I'm just so sick of like feeling stuck in this spot, let yourself get clear on the foundation. Maybe take that mini step backwards or sideways, however you want to look at it, and get really solid in that. And then when you start to move forward, you're going to see you're actually moving forward at a quicker rate than you otherwise would be able to. So even when it's uncomfortable, keep going. The fourth point, okay, right, so far we've knowing that the first point is knowing that it's not your path to the goal might not look at all like the goal, but it still can be the most effective path to the goal. So that's point one. Point two, if you already don't know the difference of the steps that you're taking, start at a little more challenging step than you normally would and allow yourself to not be good at it and keep moving through it. That's totally fine. Third point is push through the discomfort. It might be super uncomfortable and you might not be doing it perfectly, but keep going and start if you haven't started. And then fourth point is allowing yourself to set audacious goals. So here's the thing. I had no idea what was going to go into. I did not research a punching bag sit-up before I decided that looks so cool. I want to be able to do one of those. It's not even a functional like party trick. No one has a punching bag in their house. Like there's no real reason for me to do this. It's not a movement that I normally do in my everyday life. Like it's not helping me for any practical reason. But here's the thing. It's cool and I wanted to try it. So I decided, you know what? All right, that's what I'm going to do. That's my fitness goal. I have, all these different goals in my different life categories. And that's my fitness goal. And then I find out all the different things that go into it. And it would be so easy for me to just want to shift my goal and say, well, maybe that'll be next year. Like maybe I'll work on these things first. But at the end of the day, no, darn it, I want to hit this goal, so I'm going to do what it takes to hit that goal. And allow yourself to be audacious, allow yourself to be bold, allow yourself to make goals without having to research every different part of it. Like you don't have to decide, you don't have to do all the research on all the different things before you make a goal. You can be responsible about it. And I do want to take a quick tangent and say, when you're making goals that are going to impact other people and are going to shift your lifestyle, make sure that you're living within your current lifestyle as you're leading up to those goals. And I'm specifically thinking financial ones, because I know it's easy to look at a financial goal and say, okay, cool, this is the goal, and then start living into that goal. And in living into that goal and being in the excitement of being at that goal, it takes your focus away from actually hitting that goal. So I do want to make sure that you're being responsible with your goals. So you do need to have a little bit of wisdom when you're going into making your goals, but you don't have to know the how of how you're going to get there before you set your goal. And be bold with it. Be audacious. Be audacious with your goal setting. Okay, so that's point number 4. And then point number 5, I've kind of been weaving in throughout, but it is simply to bring in support. Get support, get encouragement, get wisdom from someone who's walked the path before you. Get wisdom from someone who knows what they're talking about. Do not go get your wisdom from someone who hasn't achieved what you're wanting to achieve. Like that's not, there's some wisdom there. Sometimes people, those who can't do teach, we've all heard that expression. And there's some people who are wise and who can give you sound advice even if they haven't hit that goal. But as far as like the actual training to get you there and to keep you on track and to make sure that they're making the little subtle movements with you and the little tweaks that are going to help you, and they're helping you stay on the most efficient, effective trajectory, in order to have that experience and the smoothest experience with the fewest hiccups and just on the trajectory, like the fewest, the littlest amount of turbulence, like if we're going to use the airplane analogy and keep that going, you want to fly with a pilot who knows what they're doing and who's, flown through lots of different weather patterns and lots of different directions and who knows how to handle things in the most effective way. So get support, ask for support, reach out for support, find people who are strong in the areas that you're struggling in, and know that there are all sorts of types of people who would love to help. You just have to ask. So ask for support to help yourself get there. So those are my 5 tips and some of the life lessons that you learned from lifting and strength training and working out and fitness and whatever, however you want to call it. But that's that. So with that, we'll see you next week, Growth and Grace, every Thursday, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. And I will look forward to talking with you then. Bye for now.